This is our roundup of the best video editing software for Mac 2018 edition. So a lot has changed with some of the major players since our last roundup about 6 months ago. So we're going to take a look at what's new and provide our recommendations on every budget for you Mac video editors out there. Hey, it's Justin Brown here from Primal Video, where we help you amplify your business and brand with video. If you're new here, then make sure you click that subscribe button, and all the links to everything we mentioned in this video, you can find linked in the description box below. So let's jump into it. Now, video editing software changes and updates so fast, and that's why we do a video like this every 6 to 12 months for both PC and for Mac. And every time we go totally back to the drawing board and we restart all our research and we retest a ton of the options to compare and contrast and to wind up with our recommendations for the best video editing software on every budget. Now, as always, there have been some pretty big changes since our last video, and some of my prior recommendations still make the cut, whereas others have really fallen behind with some newer options that have stepped in to take their place. And just like last time, I'm going to break this overview down into multiple pricing categories so that you can see what's available at each level. You can hear our recommendations, and if you're starting in one of the lower brackets, then you can know exactly what you'll be unlocking if you jump to a higher bracket. And while you're watching, make sure to drop us a comment down below and let us know what video editing software you're using right now and your #1 pick for best video editing software on Mac in 2018. And when we're done with the recommendations for every pricing bracket, we're going to wrap up with 3 quick tips that you can use to level up your video editing and edit faster in any video editing software. Okay, so here's the pricing categories we're going to break this down into. We're going to look at free software. We're then going to look at sub $200, so all software under $200. And we're also going to look at software over $200. Let's get started. Now, just with those pricing brackets, what I do want to say is that in each of the brackets, we're actually going to include all the software that you can get for that pricing category. So while the free software is only going to cover free software, the sub $200 category also includes free software. And likewise, the $200 plus category is also going to include all the previous mentions of software for under $200 and free software. So it's going to help make your decision process much easier, knowing that if you're going to spend $400 on video editing software, what actually is the best option? Is it a free piece of software, or is it to spend $400 on a piece of software? So first up, we're going to take a look at free software. Now, there is a heap of options out there on Mac for free video editing software, but the biggest limitation that you'll find with a lot of free software is either they're going to restrict you somehow on either the quality that you can export, the amount of features you actually get, or some of them actually have watermarks. Now, what we've done is not included any free video editing software or any video editing software at all in this video actually that has a watermark or branding on the output. It's pretty useless if you've got that, so we're not going to include it. So looking at all the software in the free video editing category, then this includes things like iMovie, WeVideo Free, Shotcut, HitFilm Express, DaVinci Resolve, Lightworks, and Avid Media Composer First. Now, after once again testing all of those, there are a few clear standouts. WeVideo, the free version, is a solid option if you're going to be editing on a low spec computer or a computer without much power. Because it's run in the browser, there's nothing to download, nothing to install. You can get great results editing on a Chromebook. Also, because it's a cloud or online based program, it makes it very useful to be able to edit with remote teams. So you could start an edit, you could give your login details to somebody else and get them to finish the edit. So it makes it really easy to collaborate and work that way. The biggest downside though with WeVideo, the free version, is that it is limited to a 480p resolution export. So it's a pretty low quality export while you're just using their free version. They do have paid versions and we will cover those soon, but WeVideo is definitely the best option for free online cloud-based editing. Now, iMovie is still a really solid option, and it's what most people think of when they think of video editing on Mac. It's iMovie. The interface is really easy to use. It's so intuitive. It's really easy to get up to speed and to start editing your videos down. One of the biggest advantages of learning and editing your videos in iMovie is that you can easily upgrade and transition into the Big Brother Final Cut 10 because the interface is very similar and you'll be able to get up to speed really quick in that. The rest of the narrowed down list includes Shotcut, HitFilm, and DaVinci Resolve. Now between these three, they're really a different breed of editing software each. Shotcut is a great video editing application whether you're using Mac, PC, or Linux. So if you are going to be jumping between different systems, you can learn the one piece of editing software and move around, move back and forth. It does take a little bit to get used to where everything is. The interface isn't really super intuitive, but it's not hard to pick up and you will be able to get great results editing in there. HitFilm is a bit of an interesting beast. It's an amazing video editing application, but they've also thrown in a heap of visual effects and special effects tools in there as well if you're looking to create videos with those included. The interface itself is fairly intuitive and easy to use, but the biggest thing here is the amount of tutorials and training that they've got on their website, let alone online on YouTube, so you can really get up to speed quick because there's a lot of power and a lot of tools in there that you're probably going to miss just on face value. You might have to dig into them to really get a handle on what's in there and what you can do. And DaVinci Resolve is hands down the most professional package here. It's unbelievable that they're actually giving this away for free. It's got professional grade video editing tools, it's got professional grade color correction and audio tools in there, and it's totally free. So out of this shortlist, if I had to pick one winner for best free video editing software, it's going to go to DaVinci Resolve. It's just insane how many features and how many professional tools they are. I mean, this is professional grade software. Now, I will say that this is definitely aimed for more professional video editors or people that are serious about creating videos. If you're someone who's not interested and won't ever be interested in all of those extra features and control over your editing, then I would suggest that you look at iMovie on Mac because that's probably going to do everything that you need to. So my top recommendations for free software are DaVinci Resolve and iMovie. Okay, so now moving on to the next category, sub $200 video editing software. So this again includes all of the free ones that we've just mentioned, but it's also going to bring some new ones into this category as well. So the new paid options that we've got in this category are Filmora, WeVideo, the paid version, ScreenFlow, Adobe Premiere Elements, and Lightworks Pro. Now, typically the biggest difference that you'll normally find between free video editing software and paid video editing software is the level of features, the level of control, and the level of integrations that you get with the software talking to your hardware. So normally the paid software is going to render faster and give you more control and more flexibility with your editing. That's also speaking pretty generally because there are a couple of standouts in the free side that are going to give you all of that, and they're still totally free. So as for my shortlist of best video editing software on Mac under $200, the shortlist is iMovie, WeVideo, ScreenFlow, Adobe Premiere Elements, and DaVinci Resolve. So in my opinion, you can see that a couple of the totally free options are actually beating out some of these paid options when it comes to usability and feature set and overall video editing experience. But again, this is really going to come down to the types of videos that you are creating. Once again, if you're going to be editing on a really low powered computer like a Chromebook, then WeVideo is going to give you an awesome editing experience, and it's also going to allow you to work with teams remotely because it's all managed through the cloud. And the paid version of WeVideo removes that 480p low quality video export that you had on the free version and will let you edit and export 4K video files on the paid plans. Now when it comes to the paid options, there's a $4.99 version, which will give you 720p exports. There's a $7.99 version, which will let you go up to 4K. And there's also a $17.99 and a $29.99 per month Pro and Business plans that are going to give you access to a lot more features, things like unlimited storage, but also multiple user accounts if you're going to be working in a team. And there's also unlimited use of their stock video files, stock graphics, and audio files as well. Adobe Premiere Elements, which is the cut down version of Adobe Premiere Pro, is another really solid option in this category. Adobe Premiere Elements is currently selling for $79.99, and the feature set that you get in here is awesome. It's really easy to use. It's super intuitive, so you will pick it up quick, but it's got a decent feature set and it's going to allow you to get a lot of control over your video editing as well. So if you're after something with more features and more flexibility and editing control over iMovie, then that's where Adobe Premiere Elements at that $79.99 price point is going to be the one for you. And because it is the baby brother of Adobe Premiere Pro, there's clear upgrade paths. If you learn this, get used to it, like it, and then are looking for an upgrade path, there is a clear and easy upgrade path through to Adobe Premiere Pro. And the last new addition in this shortlist is ScreenFlow. Now, in my opinion, ScreenFlow is an amazing piece of video editing software. It's currently selling for $129. And it's not just video editing software. This is also screen capture and screen recording software as well. So if you're creating course content or something where you want to be able to record your webcam, record your computer screen, and then edit everything down afterwards, then this is really awesome for doing that. But even if you're not interested in that and you're just using it for video editing, then I would say it's one of the most powerful video editing apps on Mac when it comes to export times and the quality of the exports. They've really got their software talking well with the Mac hardware, and everything is super fast. So then narrowing down that shortlist into our top recommendations for video editing software on Mac under $200, this is where it's at. If you're looking for cloud-based video editing or you're on a low-powered computer, it goes hands down to WeVideo, the paid versions. If you're an absolute beginner up to intermediate, then definitely look at Adobe Premiere Elements or iMovie. Either one of those is going to give you great results. I think Adobe Premiere Elements does have a lot more power and a lot more features in it. But again, look at that upgrade path. If it's something that you might want to upgrade to Adobe Premiere or Final Cut, then maybe that will sway your decision. I personally think that Adobe Premiere Elements is the better option of the two if you're not interested in upgrading and just using it as a standalone application. It's going to give you a lot more features and control than you have in iMovie. ScreenFlow is definitely another solid option on the shortlist here, and it's something that both Mike and I use almost every week. So we use it for our course content. We also use it for really quick edits. If we just want to trim off the start, end of something, the render times are just insane. So if you are after something that's still really easy to use, super intuitive, but really powerful, and is probably a step up from iMovie and from Adobe Premiere Elements, then you really can't go wrong with ScreenFlow. But I think the overall winner in this category, once again, goes to DaVinci Resolve. This is full-on professional video editing software. It might take a bit to learn. The interface isn't as intuitive as some of the other beginner options, but this is professional grade software. So if you're serious about your video editing, then this free software actually beats out a lot of the paid options, or all of the paid options in this category, if that's what you're looking for. So now moving on to the last category, $200 plus software. So this is all the software that is over $200, but because we're talking about the best video editing software, then this category is also including our top picks from the sub $200 category and free category as well, just so you can see how they all stack up together, so that you are leaving with the best video editing software for you. Now, typically what you will find with the software in this high-end bracket is that this is the professional tools. These are the tools that people are cutting movies and documentaries and TV shows on. The features and the control over your video editing process that you have in these programs is normally top-notch. So this is down to frame-by-frame accurate editing, really professional tools for audio editing, for color grading. Like this is what the pros use. So in this category, you've got software like Avid Media Composer, Adobe Premiere Pro, DaVinci Resolve Studio, Final Cut Pro, HitFilm Pro, and Camtasia. Now, Camtasia feels like an interesting one to put in this category of pro video editing software, but it's purely here because of the price. It's decent video editing software, but I probably wouldn't refer to it as professional video editing software. So it's come in here because of the price. So once again, after trying and testing all of these options and even testing them and putting them up against a lot of the free and cheaper paid options as well, here are our top recommendations for best video editing applications on Mac, both free and paid. So this is including all video editing software out there. Here's our top picks: Adobe Premiere Pro, DaVinci Resolve, Final Cut Pro 10, WeVideo, ScreenFlow, Adobe Premiere Elements, and iMovie. Now, with video editing as a whole, it's really important to treat video editing software as just a tool to get the job done. There is no perfect tool to answer every editing scenario. It'll come down to what is going to be the best one for you, your skill set, and the types of videos you're creating. So you really need to consider that when you're looking at the best options for you. Now, looking at the new ones on the shortlist here, Adobe Premiere Pro is probably one of the most popular video editing apps out there at the moment, especially when it comes to editing YouTube content. A lot of the big YouTube creators are really either using Adobe Premiere Pro or Final Cut. We have done a video comparing the two, and I will put a link up in the cards now, but Adobe Premiere Pro is an awesome video editing application, and it's got some really awesome features based around working with teams, but it's also got really awesome integration with the rest of the Adobe suite. So if you're someone that's entrenched in the Adobe ecosystem and you use Photoshop, maybe After Effects, Audition, then all of these things play so well together that you can really up your video game by integrating with a lot of those applications. It also works on both Mac and PC, so it's easy to move between systems and move your projects around and between different editors as well. Now you can currently get access to Adobe Premiere Pro for $20.99 per month. It is a subscription model. You can no longer buy this outright. So the only option for getting it is to either pay $20.99 per month for just Adobe Premiere Pro, or you can also get it in the Master Bundle where it comes with all of the other Adobe applications as well. But that's going to set you back $52.99 per month. Final Cut Pro 10 is another one of our top recommendations here. Again, it's also a really popular option out there for people creating YouTube videos. It is really easy to use. I would say it's probably on the professional side of software, it's the easiest one to use. It's actually something that I dismissed for so long, thinking it was just like a plus version of iMovie, but it's actually really powerful and really fast to edit in. Once I did actually start playing with it, I then quickly moved to it from Adobe Premiere Pro and from using Avid. There's some really cool features in there that make editing so fast, but it's also got a different approach to video editing, which is different from any of the other video editing applications. And that's really based around the magnetic timeline and the way that the clips are all moved around the timeline. It took a little bit of getting used to, but once you've got your head around it, it is super powerful. Where it falls down a bit is when you're working with teams and collaborating with other editors. It's nowhere near as seamless in that regard as something like Adobe Premiere. Now you can currently buy Final Cut Pro outright for $299, and this is a one-time fee. You only have to pay for it once and you own it and get free upgrades for life. Now in this category, we did also mention as an option and as a contender, the DaVinci Resolve Studio, which is the paid version of DaVinci Resolve, the free program that's been winning out all the other categories. So the biggest difference between the free version and the paid version is that there are some more professional editing effects and tools inside of the professional studio version. So the free version will let you edit videos up to UHD 4K at 60 frames per second, whereas the paid version will let you go to true 4K and above, and it'll also let you work with higher frame rates than 60 frames per second. So again, those things may come into play for the types of videos you're creating and the tools that you need, but I would say for most people creating videos, they're probably not going to need the studio version or the pro version of DaVinci Resolve. All right, so pulling all of this back together, what are our top recommendations and why when it comes to the best video editing software on Mac? If you're going to be editing your videos on a low spec computer or a not very powerful computer, or you want to be editing in the cloud and work remotely with teams, then WeVideo takes the cake hands down. If you're an absolute beginner, then iMovie is going to be a solid option for you. And again, it's got the clear upgrade path to Final Cut Pro. If you're after more control and more features with your video editing, so this is more beginner to intermediate, then I would highly recommend ScreenFlow or Adobe Premiere Elements. Either one of those two will allow you to turn out really professional edits really quickly and have a heap of power behind it. But obviously ScreenFlow has also got the screen capture capabilities in there as well. Now, as for my top pick for overall best video editing application on Mac, this is where things become a little bit difficult because I've really got two top picks here and a close third. My top two picks will be Final Cut Pro and Adobe Premiere Pro. Now, these are two that I use all the time. The features in them are amazing. I do use them for different things. As I said, there's different tools for different projects. If I'm going to be working with external editors or teams, then I'll be using Premiere hands down. It is by far the easiest way that we can all be working on the same project. And it's got all the extra integrations in there with things like After Effects and Photoshop and Audition. So you've got the full suite of tools there. On the other side of things, I'm also a really big fan of Final Cut. I think it is way more powerful than Adobe Premiere, especially when it comes to render times and exports. The way that the software talks to the Mac hardware is just insane. So if it's any project that I'm going to be working on myself with no one else involved, then I'll be using Final Cut. So again, it's all about having the right tool for the right job. So if you are torn between the two and you're going to be working with external editors, or you really like the Adobe Premiere interface, you're already entrenched in the Adobe ecosystem, you're using Photoshop, After Effects, you've got all those tools and love them, then Premiere is the obvious choice for you. If you want to get the most power and the best experience out of your Mac while you're editing your videos, then it goes hands down to Final Cut. I mean, they make the software, they make the hardware. It's just insane how well the two work together. And the third, probably obvious honorable mention, then goes to DaVinci Resolve. I think what they're doing there is just insane. I can't believe how good that software is, stacking up to the likes of Adobe Premiere Pro and Final Cut, which are obviously costing a lot more money. And it's really crazy to think that they're offering all of this for free. You can use DaVinci Resolve for nothing and you're getting access to all these powerful tools. Now, if you did say to me, Justin, you can only pick one, don't give us two, just pick one. What is the best one overall? Then I would actually say Adobe Premiere Pro, because it works on both Mac and PC with the team integration, with the color correction, everything in there. It's, yeah, why not? Adobe Premiere, that would be my overall pick. So as you can see, there are a ton of options out there, each one of them with a different workflow. Now, the best way to figure out which one is the right one for you is to try a few of them and see which one is the best fit. See which one is the fastest for you to edit in and to create the type of videos that you're looking to create. But by starting out with these recommendations, you really can't go wrong. Okay, so now for the 3 tips to edit faster. The first one is to learn the keyboard shortcuts. All you'll have to do is open up the help file for your video editing application, go down to keyboard shortcuts or Google search keyboard shortcuts, video editing application name, and you'll find the list of keyboard shortcuts for your specific application. Now, you definitely don't need to learn and remember all of them, but at least have a read through and see what's possible, because learning a lot of these keyboard shortcuts is definitely going to speed up your video editing. But the ones I'd say to look out for are trim top and trim tail, or ripple edit left and ripple edit right. You'll thank me later. Tip number 2 to speed up your video editing is actually something you can do while you're filming. And this is to leave notes for yourself if you're going to be editing, or for your video editor. So while you're editing, you can actually remember certain things. And it could be that you've made a mistake or that you liked the first take of something. So the goal here is to notify yourself that you've got something to say, or to notify your editor. So to do this while you're filming, you'll need to leave some sort of marker or indicator that there's a message that you want to tell your future self or your video editor. So you need to do this by putting your hand up to the screen so that when you're scrubbing through your footage, you'll see the hand and go, all right, cool, I've got to listen to what I've said next. Or you could do something like clap 3 times. And that'll leave loud audio spikes in your audio waveform that you can see, okay, there's a message there or something that I need to take note of. So it could be that you might want to use the first take of whatever you've just said, or that the last one was the best one, or that you actually want to cut out that entire section and not use it. So all of these things you can actually do while you're filming so that you don't have to listen to all of these things in your edit. You just have to look out for those markers in your editing and apply whatever the message was. And tip number 3 is to focus on editing your content down first and not just jumping into your editing and applying color corrections and effects and things to your clips before you've actually cut the content down. You want to cut the content down first to make sure that it's all there, there's nothing wrong with it, and it's actually going to be usable, and also so that it's not putting your computer under extra load. Every time that you are applying a color grade or any sort of effects, every time you preview or play back your video, it's got to render each one of those frames to preview that for you. So by not having those on there, it will let you edit faster because it's not going to put your computer under as much load. So focus on cutting down the content first and then add all your effects and everything later. Now, those are just 3 tips from our full video editing process guide, the Primal Video Method. And there's a link to where you can grab your copy of that guide to download and print out while you're editing to make sure that you're editing in the fastest, most efficient method. And I'll see you soon.